All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Maya? Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Look at you. You made it. It's another episode of We Did That Shit podcast, where we talk about who did some shit, how we got through some shit, and what we learned from shit.
I'm Maya.
And I'm Bibbi. Podcast family, we appreciate your support. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and listen on your favorite podcast platform. Tell us what you think. We're on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at We Did That Shit. Hey. Maya.
Hey. We can never just start the podcast out with just
I know.
not to laugh.
That's because you make me put clothes on and everything. You just don't let me just be free and just, let's go ahead and just record the podcast and be free.
Be free on your own time. Be free on your own time. I love you. You my cousin, fave, and all that. But I don't need to see all that.
So what's up? How was your week?
My week was pretty good. I'm beat down this week. The workouts got me beat down. I mean, she took the workups up, another notch, like turned them up, and I'm feeling the effects of it. But everything else is good. Yeah, I've been getting back into my reading. I had fell off for a minute, so I'm back into that.
The book club is back in effect?
The book club is always in effect, even though I didn't read the last book. But the new book is Trevor Noah's autobiography. I am going to read that. But I'm reading a couple other things right now. One of my hood books, of course. Rereading James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time. And then I got to read Trevor Noah.
Oh, so, wow. Oh, so Trevor Noah. When's the meeting?
I don't know.
When's the book club? Oh, okay.
We didn't set a date. We winging it.
It don't matter because when y'all book club meet, y'all be meeting till like 3, 4 in the morning.
Well, that's because we catch up. We really talk intensively about the book, but then after the book, then we catch up because we don't see each other all the time. So that takes time. Then you drinking, you eating, you laughing. You know how it is. How was your week?
Woo, girl. My week has been, for everybody who knows me, they know my claim to fame is I'm God's favorite. I am God's favorite. And I tell everybody, they be going through stuff. I'm like, girl, don't worry about it. Give it to God. Mm-hmm. Girl, don't worry about it. Give it to God. Dude, look, man, don't worry about it. Give it to God. And, people really think that nothing happens to me because, they look at me and they be like, oh my gosh, everything is so great. And when I tell you that all hell is breaking loose, and I'm just have to be real. Being God's favorite is not all peaches and cream. Okay? Sometimes, so that I can relate to people, he makes me go through regular people stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when regular people stuff happens to me, I'm like, oh man. But okay, I'll get through that. I'll do that. But I mean, I have like 6 things going on at the same time. And like my refrigerator broke, the freezer broke.
What?
So when the freezer broke, like the ice machine, it's not freezing. So the ice machine just had all this water all over, the kitchen floor. It didn't mess up
anything, right? Because it's not like it's a lot in there. No shade.
No, but the water.
Oh, right.
The water.
Yeah.
So it was all over the floor. So Jiggy comes upstairs and says, Mom, where's the mop? And I'm like, oh, he must have spilled something or something. And I told him where the mop was. He was like, it's not enough. So I was like, what is going on? So I went downstairs and there's like 2 inches of water all over my whole kitchen. And you know what I did? I said, Jiggy, get these towels, lay them down on the floor. I'll get it in the morning. And I just looked up to God. I said, okay, I'll play along.
Right. Okay, you got me. All right.
All right. I'll play along. All right. All right. So, my dad's in the hospital and I'm, concerned about him, checking on him every day. I just got a lot of stuff going on, but I'm still in good spirit. I'm still God's favorite. Everything is going to work out. And guess what I learned today?
What, girl?
I didn't even know that you're going to be my roomie.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, am I? Yes, I am. I did get the notice first. First of all, my mother made the decision for us. And yes, we're going to be roommates on our next family vacation. Looking forward to it.
Look at that. That's going to be a time. And because Kathy called me today and I was like, huh? Okay.
Yeah, just go all with it. When the elders say something, you just be like, all right, exactly. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So, things are looking up already.
Well, good. So who did some shit this week?
This week, our podcast family did some shit this week.
Oh.
And shout out to them.
They certainly did.
They did. And we really received overwhelming responses to our HIV 101 episode.
Yes.
Which really, I don't know, I think I see a pattern here. When we did the autism awareness episode, we got a lot of feedback. Now we did the HIV 101, we got a lot of feedback. So I really would like to address some of the questions, statements, and concerns that people reached out to us.
Okay.
About the HIV 101.
Okay.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
Because there are some really important things.
So what was some of them?
Well, the first thing that I think is very, very important, because what the person said was, and we're going to talk about stigma. But what the person said, they were kind of implying that some people, if they get AIDS, they deserved it. Or, they shouldn't have been doing that. They deserved it. And I really want to speak to that. And we're going to talk about stigma too, but I really want to speak to that.
Yeah, let's speak to that for sure.
Yeah. I think the first thing that I think of is, one, most adults, 99% of adults, has done something to put themselves at risk for acquiring HIV and AIDS.
Yes.
Okay? 99% of adults, and even some children, have done something to put themselves at risk. And no one person deserves it. And nobody deserves it.
Nobody.
Period. Especially one more than the other. There is, that victim mentality. They say, oh, they're AIDS victim. And some people really feel like they really didn't, it has happened that husbands cheat on wives
every day,
and or people are on a down low. Sex partners, one of them uses injection drugs and you don't know. There's things like that happen and you don't know, and the person themselves may feel like a victim, and they say, oh, it wasn't my fault, I didn't have to get this, but no one person deserves being HIV positive. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead before I address what I want to say in regards to that comment. Go ahead, you finish.
No, because I just want to say that HIV is 100% preventable.
As we spoke last week.
It's 100% preventable. And the time to be concerned about prevention is when you are HIV negative. That is the time to learn all you can to protect yourself, even in committed relationships. Know the last name of the person that you're dealing with. Use all the rules of safer sex. If you're going to be in a monogamous relationship, then you should both be tested. Know the person's background. If they were a former, it could have been anabolic steroids. It doesn't matter. But if they use injection needles for anything, this is the time when you're HIV negative. That is the time for prevention. And when you can control your behaviors, you do whatever you have to do to protect yourself. Once a person is HIV positive, it doesn't matter.
Right, how they got it.
How they acquired it. Right. It doesn't matter at all. All that matters now is that person gets into some kind of care and treatment, because HIV does not have to kill you.
Right. And before you go on to talk about once you are HIV positive, let me just address the comment that was made about a person deserving it. For a person to come out of their mouth and say that another person deserved anything means that that person who thinks that the other person deserved it is not protecting themselves in the way that they need to, because you have a mentality of it won't happen to me, and you have a mentality of it's their issue and not my issue. They deserved it and not me. I have said on this podcast time and time again what my mother says. I will say it until the day that I leave this earth. Everybody gets a turn. Now, your turn might be, you get sick. Your turn might be you go to jail. Your turn might be your refrigerator breaks down. Your turn might be your car is stolen. Your turn could be anything, but you won't get one. And for you to make a comment of that would be the person who gets the turn that's the worst of the turns, because you're passing judgment on somebody else and what they have going on. And HIV does not discriminate. Bibbi talked about it on last week. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care if you are rich, you are poor, you are thin, you are big, you are black, you are white, you are Latino, you are gay, you are heterosexual. It doesn't matter. The disease is what it is. Anybody can acquire it. But we talked about prevention, and we will continue to talk about prevention. Like Bibbi said, now when you're negative, be positive that you're negative, the person who made the comment and everybody else that's listening to the podcast. That is the time that you do something about it. Bibbi is going to go into, once you're HIV positive, what happens next, because like she said, you don't have to succumb to this disease. But I just think that is so judgmental.
Very judgmental.
You make sure that when you looking your nose down at somebody as you're descending on up, as you're going on up, ascending on up, when you descend on down, you're going to be looking those people right in the eyes. So you make sure that you do something, whomever made the comment, you make sure that you do something to protect yourself always.
And that is my next point. Because that more than one person has said that, but one person that I know that said it, that same person has never been tested because they're afraid.
You know what? Let's stop the show. Because are you kidding?
Right. Because their thoughts about HIV and AIDS and how they think people get it and what they think, they're judging their own they think their behaviors are minor compared to all the things that they think that a person who's HIV positive had
to go through. Yeah. Did you ever see the movie? I don't mean to cut you off. Did you ever see the movie Kids? They used to show it at the agency that we worked at. They used to show it to the clients all the time. And you never saw it?
Kids?
Yes, it's called Kids. And for all of you listening, if you have never seen this movie, it stars a young Rosario Dawson. The actress Rosario Dawson. She was young. Like teenager in this movie. Well, in the movie, I'm sorry, I'm getting ready to ruin it. I told you to go watch it, but still watch it, but I'm about to ruin it. In the movie, Rosario Dawson was doing, she was doing it up. When I'm talking about vaginal, anal, she was doing some stuff as a teenager. Her girlfriend was a virgin. Now, there was a guy in the movie, and his sole purpose in the whole movie was he was like the person that always got with the virgins. He would get with the virgins, and he would break their virginity and this, that, and the third. Her friend had sex one time with this guy. They went to the clinic. And when you go into the clinic and you get tested and they start asking you all the questions for testing and counseling, okay, so they're asking all the questions. Have you did this? Have you did that? Have you did this? And Rosario Dawson is saying it up. Yeah, girl, I had a threesome, foursome, sevensome. I'm doing it up. And then when the friend goes in, they say, "Have you done blah 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 blah?" She's like, "No, no, 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 no." She hadn't done anything but had sex with the boy the one time. I say all of that to say the friend who had the sex one time, she was HIV positive. The friend that was doing it up was HIV negative. And that is reality for people.
Exactly. Exactly. So you never know. And, like we said before, 99% of adults and some children have done something to put themselves at risk. So, don't judge people, and no one deserves it.
No, at all.
Nobody deserves it. When you do your little 1-2, and when you finish doing your little 1-2, and you want to get yourself together or whatever, if you want to have a little liaison or whatever, after you finish it, you just want that to be a memory.
Right.
You know what I mean? You want to come out unscathed, and that's normal. And it's okay. You got a little story to tell your grandkids or not. You know what I mean? So nobody deserves it. Nobody deserves to get it. So another thing that came up was, first of all, this one looks like they have AIDS. That one looked like they have AIDS. That one looked like, oh, she got the package. She has this. And I cannot stress enough that HIV does not have a look.
At all.
At all. Like, we are living in a great time. And because I've worked in it for so long, and I remember going to funerals like every day. The office opened late because of a funeral that day. And I remember in some places in like sub-Saharan Africa, they were having mass funerals. It was like literally like if you died Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, your funeral is on Saturday. If you died Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, your funeral is on Wednesday. And it was just mass burials. But we live in a time now where we used to call it cocktails because people took so much medicine and stuff. But now people are on one pill once a day. And if they're healthy, they don't have any other comorbidities, no hypertension, no diabetes, no high cholesterol, nothing. You would never know.
Never know.
My patients look wonderful, some of them.
Let's talk a la Magic Johnson. Since he's the face of HIV and people, always refer to him. And we have had extensive conversations in regards to Magic Johnson and that whole thing around Magic Johnson. If you think about a person that has AIDS and what they look like, or, he doesn't have AIDS, but he has HIV. If you think about a person that has HIV and what they look like, do they look like him? Because he getting bigger every year. You know what I'm saying? His skin glowing every year. And it ain't about
it's not about
money. Let's say that. It's not about money. And let's just talk a little bit let's talk a little bit while we're on the subject of Magic Johnson and we're talking about stigma and we're talking about that kind of thing. Let's talk about how Magic Johnson is not getting one more thing more than Sarah, over here that lives in New Jersey. No one is Magic Johnson is not getting some special pill that is curing him. And what Magic Johnson has is money to be able to get a personal chef, a personal trainer, be able to go to any store you want. That takes a little stress off. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Magic Johnson has. Magic Johnson doesn't have the magic cocktail. His name is not Magic Johnson, and really magic is happening. He's not out there, giving magic or getting magic. You know what I'm saying? He is getting access the same way as someone else. And Bibbi, can you tell us a little bit about that as far as like people with access and things like that?
Well, certainly money gets you more access to things. But I tell people all the time, and I used to say it when you were my boss and you sent me out on speaking engagements. And, nothing Magic Johnson's money can buy is not available to a person living in New Jersey who is HIV positive, especially at the time. Now, have grants gotten smaller? Yes, they have. Mostly because most patients are doing much better, and the medication is working. But in New Jersey, you can get like Magic Johnson can have a private chef. In New Jersey or Philadelphia, in the metropolitan area, we have an organization called MANA. MANA was started by high class chefs like Lebet Finn, chefs. And what they were doing was they got together, they started making meals, and any patient who came out of the hospital, an AIDS patient that came out of the hospital, they would deliver their meals every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for 6 months. And now MANA has expanded to, they don't just service people who are HIV positive, they service people who need renal diets, like dialysis people, diabetes, high blood pressure. If you have any kind of chronic disease state and you were in the hospital and you need to adjust to a diet or you have some kind of case management in your healthcare, they have volunteers that make meals. They come deliver the meals, and every week you get a delivery, 21 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we buy them sometimes to keep them in the office. So if our patients come in and they're hungry, they haven't eaten, the transportation is taking long, they have something to eat. So yes, Magic Johnson has a personal chef, but people in New Jersey can also get food and good food. And because when they first started out, they were making this, all of that, and blueberry hollandaise and all this kind of stuff. And the patients were like, can I get chicken?
Just regular chicken? I mean, some mashed potatoes would be nice to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't need the foo-foo, boo-boo.
Right. So they kind of gave up the frou-frou, and they make good, nutritious meals, fresh fruit, everything. It's really nice. We also had complementary therapies in New Jersey. Remember, we had the chiropractor, we had acupuncture, we had massage therapies, and those things were all free of charge.
Right.
Professionals will volunteer their time, or if we paid, we would get money through grants to pay for, like if patients needed pain management or even relaxation, things like that. Magic Johnson, I'm sure, has a driver. We have medical transportation. Our patients can get to the doctor. You know what I mean? So it's not like, and Magic Johnson, I think he was like the spokesperson for Crixivan. And, Crixivan, it was a medication, it was part of a cocktail, and now it's combined in other medications. But, he takes, just like you said, the same medicine that everybody else takes, he takes as well. But we just live in a great time, and the medication is working. He looks great, and so does a lot of my patients. A lot of my patients. And some of them that don't look so great have other things going on. It has nothing to do with their HIV.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So you can't see HIV is the point.
Right.
You cannot see it. I could take pictures with a group of my girls. You would never know who was HIV positive and who was not.
Right.
So that one. What else came up this week? Stigma. People talking about, when you tell somebody you HIV positive and you'll never have another relationship again.
Well, that's not true at all. Because I'm going to tell you what. We know people who are living with the disease. They're married. They're happy in other relationships, not in the relationships that, expose them to the disease, anything like that. They are in happy, healthy relationships. Their partners are negative. Just because you are with someone who is HIV positive, that doesn't mean that you have to be HIV positive. You can still be in a relationship and be happy and healthy with someone. But I know that we have things out there where they give people pointers on how to disclose to a partner or a potential partner that they do have a disease. And I think that that's important for anyone, because you can have all kinds of stuff. You can have herpes, do you never want to have another relationship again? You can have HPV, do you never want to have another relationship? You can have cancer, you know what I'm saying? And think about, damn, is this person going to want to stick by me or whatever? So it's not just HIV, but if you do have HIV, could you give just a couple pointers of how someone can start the discussion of disclosing?
Disclosure? Well, I think a good way to start the process in disclosure is to talk about healthy relationships. healthy, especially if you're thinking about having sex, which is in Bibbi's rules for safer sex.
Right.
And the last episode, make sure you listen. It's free.
Right.
So it's important that you start talking about sex well before you start having sex.
Right.
Because you're not just talking about when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, where you're going to do it. You have to talk about sex. And the more you talk about sex with another person, you can figure out like their habits, things that they were into, experiences that they've had, what they think about this and that and the other thing, and talk about positions, toys, whatever. You can really learn a lot from people just from a discussion, from, discussing sex. Another thing on your way to disclosure is getting tested.
Yes.
Talk about testing. If a person is dead set on not getting tested,
run.
You don't need to be with that person
At all.
Because if everybody is out here talking about they're HIV negative and I ain't got nothing, but they don't never want to get tested, and then they don't want you around when they're getting tested because they don't want you to know, and that's their right.
Yes.
That's their right. But if you're gonna be in a monogamous relationship and you think that you love, because all information is not for everybody
At all.
It's not for everybody. So that's another thing that you want to do. And also educate so you can bring up HIV and see how the person reacts. Oh, they dirty, oh, they this, you don't want to be with a person who thinks, who knows so little about what's going on in life.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can bring up HIV and other sexually transmitted disease, because the fact of the matter is herpes is incurable. And you can acquire herpes even without having full intercourse because, skin rubbing up against skin lesions and things like that. So HIV, yes, you have to live with it forever and take medication, but the same is also true for herpes.
Yeah, and another thing that I wanted to say is when we talk about disclosure, know the person. We talk about this all the time, specifically with Black women, and it's because we are Black women. Black women, and I think women in general, but like I said, I'm a Black woman. Black women, we trust so much, right? We trust what our man is saying. We trust that he's not out here doing something because he said he's not. We trust that he's not on the down low. We trust he ain't shooting up at his friend's house. We trust things like that. And if you take nothing away from this show and the topic of that we're talking about HIV, please take away that you have to always look out for yourself first.
Absolutely.
Trust yourself first. Trust your gut first. Trust your judgment first. Like the B said, when you're having conversations with someone, you're talking about sex. If you don't trust that that's something you could put up with, you ain't into that. I don't know, that sound kind of fishy. Why he gotta keep getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go change Jerry's tires? Things like that. If you don't trust yourself enough to be like, no, that's not for me. And another thing that I wanted to say was, just because your partner gets tested, that does not mean that you ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Men to be like, well, she just, I literally just had a spectrum of tests last week. Didn't I call you and tell you? I'm positive that I'm negative. You know what I'm saying? I was already going to get a test, and then we did the topic, and it was like, oh, girl, listen, because I ain't get my test, so let me go get it. So now I'm positive, I'm negative, and if I call a dude that I'm seeing and I'm like, yeah, I'm negative, that don't mean you negative, brother. You need to go out and get tested too. Do not go with the partner that you're in this quote unquote monogamous relationship with is healthy, so that means that you're healthy. That does not mean that. That does not mean that at all.
That is absolutely true. You can't go by what other people do.
Right.
So that's for disclosure. And in disclosure, everybody can't be a spokesperson. It's not in everybody. Some people don't care. They're out here on the circuit. They're trying to educate as many people as they can. They want young girls, young men to know, older women, older men to know, because older people still get this virus, especially if you didn't, grow up during the condom era. Widows and things like that that have lived their lives, and they get sick too. So, but everybody can't be out there, or is not out there being a champion.
Yeah, because then we talk about
HIV.
stigma. Goes right back to stigma. So no, they're not out there waving the flag.
Exactly. So you don't want to disclose to everyone. So you just make sure that person that you want to disclose to, like, it's right for your relationship at the right time. And if ever, I tell my patients this all the time, if ever you're uncertain or feel unsure or feel like maybe not now, go with your gut. Go with your gut, because and I tell them, protect yourself, because a person who's HIV positive, even if they have relations with someone who's also HIV positive, it's very possible that they could pick up their strand. Exactly. Right. So you don't want anything, not just HIV, not their strand of HIV, not herpes, not anything. So protect yourself and protect the other person as much as you can. But if you ever feel, like, I don't know, I don't trust this person to hold my information personal, then always go with your gut.
Yes.
Always go with your gut. So, disclosure and stigma, that was a big thing that we got. And then the other thing that I want to talk about, and this thing irks me. This is one of the things that irked me really bad, because I go to work every day, and I've been doing this a long time. I have patients, they are real people, with real lives, with real things going on, just like you and me. Everybody, we're all the same. We have people issues. So this AIDS was made by the white man to, these conspiracy theories. And I'm saying everybody is entitled to their own theory, opinion, whatever. I don't care. But that is my point. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. All I know is this. This is my patient. I care about them. If they take the medication, as far as HIV is concerned, they will be fine. If they don't, they will die a slow, miserable, painful, horrible death. Period. That's it. And that's what my doctor, I love Dr. Williams, he tells them all the time, because, people want to stop taking their meds, or they've read this in an article about holistic thing. And I'm all for holistic medicines. I'm all for keeping your body, well and everything. But I tell my patients all the time, save your liver for your meds. You take your meds. You don't have to worry about anything. If your meds stop working, we can do a test, see what's still sensitive, give you something else. It's not a big deal. The medications work now, but if you don't take it, you will, it's not like you just, boom, and you're dead. No, it is a slow, miserable process. So I don't care to hear about anybody's conspiracy theories and things like that. And neither do my patients. No, they have lives to live.
Right, because the reality is that it doesn't matter if it was a conspiracy or not. The reality is that it's here now. Now, that I am one of the people, I can definitely admit that I'm one of those people that I think everything is about race. You know what I'm saying? Everything. Right. it doesn't matter what it is. I'm like, it got race in it. But HIV is definitely one of those things that stump even me. I can't even bring it to race. Because early on in the days of HIV, most white males were dying of the disease. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. In today's time, it's young black people, women specifically, that are getting the disease, and I mean young, like 18 to 24, Bib, or 18 to 30 or something like that. What's the fastest growing population?
Black women 25 to 44, and black men, boys, adolescents, 13 to 23.
And so, when we think about things like that, it goes back to what we said last week and what we say and what we're saying this week. It just doesn't discriminate. So it doesn't matter how it came about. One thing that I wanted to talk about, and we didn't talk about last week, and I just wanted to throw this in here. The disease is not over.
At all.
I think that many people in life are getting diagnosed with cancer, at a rapid rate. We see cancer growing to this outrageous, disease where it's just like affecting everyone, right? And AIDS and HIV is the same thing, but it's not getting the national response as it once did, because people are living longer, medicines are working, as you said, and I just feel like people are just putting a lid on it, like, oh, well, that's them over there, that's this over here,
right?
But we got bigger fish to fry. No, HIV and AIDS is still it's still in the pan, it's still in that big frying pan. And I just needed to say that because I didn't last week. And, we talk a lot about people living longer, living healthier, taking that one pill from them, bunch of cocktails that they had to take. But it's not over,
At all. And it's also important to note that the same way we discriminate and stigmatize HIV, it's the same way people used to do the same thing with cancer. People used to never say the word cancer. They would say the big, oh, she got the big C. Everything would be on the hush hush, on the low low.
Right.
Don't tell anybody, and things like that.
Right.
And people will continue to deteriorate and die. But I just want to say, like, today, HIV is doing much better than cancer, and that cancer still kills at an alarming rate. But people who are HIV positive and or have AIDS are living if they take their medication. So people look at cancer as a victimless disease, like, oh, everybody has the same chances of getting it. They really didn't do anything, and then they got cancer. And then sometimes they do look at it like, oh, you smoked, that's what you get,
right?
But the survival rates of HIV are way higher than cancer, and you are absolutely right. HIV is not over. It is very far from over. People are still we're 30 years in to the pandemic, because it's more than an epidemic. We're 30 years into the pandemic, and the infection rates have not decreased.
Right.
Have not decreased. We still have almost 40,000 people a year being infected with this virus. Which is absolutely ludicrous with all these messages that we're getting out.
Right.
Allegedly, I mean, I'm doing it.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm trying to tell people all the time. But people are still, being infected at an alarming rate.
Right. Right.
Even in a developed country such as ours. And it really doesn't have to be. So I just wanted to really, because those were the major things or the reoccurring topics that kept coming up in people's responses, even when people like approached me personally. And then one person said something about my hair. They were like, no, I want to see this hair. Because you said it was right. But I really was looking like cockroach from the Cosby Show.
Yo, when you sent me that picture, I was hollering. I was laughing so hard I couldn't even respond to you, because I was like, here I go, look, this is it. That's it.
It is. It was. I was looking like cockroach.
Yeah.
Right out the hair salon, I was looking good, but a couple hours later, I was like,
yeah, but
when him and Theo was wrapping their homework, I was like, yeah, no.
No, but people came up to you and said things to you, and we got a lot of comments, and people also said things to me. They really seem to enjoy the show. I know one person said to me, I didn't know half of what y'all was talking about. Just when you think you know something, you really don't know anything. And she was just like, the broad general stuff, it was even like, And like the fluids that is found in, even that, where you would think, okay, this is what you got to protect yourself from. She didn't even know that, and it's like she really thanked us and said that she enjoyed the show, and really to you, that you were a great educator, and she's looking forward to more coming from the show in regards to topics like that we're well versed on.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what's up. Mm-hmm. So I said thank you very much.
I sure will.
So I just want to encourage, if you didn't listen to the last podcast, the HIV 101 episode number 30, take a listen, share it with friends, even enemies. Mm-hmm. It's some good information in there, and you certainly don't want to miss Bibbi's rules of safer sex.
Share that with your partner. Or who you think could be your potential partner. Let Bibbi be in your mind and say, hey, remember, you got to look at it. Remember, you got to know his last name. Wait, don't pull out the condoms yet.
Exactly.
No, you don't know everything. Right. So,
there's some steps before getting to a condom.
Yes.
And speaking of which, shout out to 12 Kyle on 12 Kyle podcast, because his podcast this week was things to do after sex. Mm-hmm. Have you heard it yet?
Not yet. I'm gonna listen till tomorrow.
Oh my goodness. So I was up. Sidebar. But I was up in the middle of the night on my House Hunters International tip because my daughter is in Taiwan looking for an apartment because she'll be there for a little while. And she is just trying. First of all, I don't know what's wrong with these kids. I don't know. And I'm not taking the blame for this. I'm just not.
You raised them, but go ahead.
No, it's like you do the best you can. I'm telling you, this is all Nickelodeon. This is Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and all this other dumb shit they be watching. That's So Raven and all this, where all these kids be doing this crazy stuff and nobody's paying bills. But so she's looking at 3 apartments. We're all on the FaceTime looking at the apartments and everything. So she was like, "Oh, I really like this one. Of course, it's the most expensive one.
Of course,
it's spacious and all this kind of stuff. First of all, you're junky. You don't need a whole bunch of space.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because all you're going to do is junk it up.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, so it's between number 1 and number 3. I'm thinking she should go with number 1 because it's in walking distance to her job. Mm-hmm. And she said even though like the shopping is not walking distance, but it's not far. And like for things for her immediate needs, there's like corner stores or whatever. And let me just tell you what this child said to me. If I could have went through the wireless waves to wring her neck, she's going to say, I know, but it's small and it doesn't have a view.
Okay.
What?
A view of what?
A view, exactly. First of all, I'm like, this is like your first little job. You teaching English. Like, you're not the CEO of ExxonMobil. Like, what?
And second of all,
what?
did you have a view when you lived in Camden? I mean,
exactly.
What was the view of that? And now, don't get me wrong. Now, listen. When you move from a place, you want to move into another place, and you want it to be an upgrade. You know what I'm saying? Not that because you got a nice house. Not that you're not like moving out of your house is upgrade, but you want to move into a better neighborhood. Or, maybe got more scenery. This, that, and the third. But the thing is that you got to be able to pay for it.
Hello. Hello, you live at home paying no bills.
Y'all spoil these kids.
I'm clearly this is Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. I am not taking the blame for this, but I just wanted to jump through the phone and no view.
Right?
You're in a beach town. Walk your ass to the beach. What is what?
You could see a sunset every day.
Okay, I just wanted to choke her. But anyway, after we got off the phone, it's like 3:30 in the morning, and my little ping came up, new episode from 12 Kyle Podcast, what to do after sex. And when I tell you, my eyes was burning, and I wanted to tweet right then at the time, but I had to try to get some kind of Z before I went to work. But when I got up, I was like, oh my goodness. It's so good. Wait till you hear it. It's good.
I'll listen tomorrow.
Yeah, so yeah, make sure you listen. And anybody else you want to check out 12 Kyle's podcast, What to Do After Sex, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, well, listen to episode 30 of We Did That Shit, where we do HIV 101. Listen to this episode 31, where we do the wrap up from HIV 101. Your comments, your questions, things that you wanted answered to. And then you go on ahead and you check out 12 Kyle, What to Do After sex. And you got a lot of sex education there. Yes.
Lot.
You do. Got a lot of sex education there. And so listen, nothing says it best than listening to us and getting you some good old sex education. But no, on a more serious tip, we just want you to know that we appreciate all of your emails, your comments on social media, your presence that we felt in listening to the episode. We really appreciate it. Our listeners seem to be coming on, and they was coming on slowly, but you're coming. We see you.
Yeah.
And so we appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, We Did That Shit podcast. Anywhere where you can listen to your favorite podcast. Now listen, I just wanted to give this disclaimer announcement on the end of the show. It's another We Did That Shit podcast out there on iTunes. It just is We Did That Shit. The show that you are listening to now is We Did That Shit podcast. We are not affiliated with that other show. We have nothing to do with that other show. We Did That Shit podcast. And we can be found everywhere you can listen to your favorite podcast, which is iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Castbox, YouTube, Pocket Cast, Breaker. I mean, the list goes on and on. You will be able to find us, honey. You'll be able to find us.
Yeah.
So make sure that you do that. Make sure that you also follow us on all social media platforms. As Bibbi said in the beginning, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at We Did That Shit. It's one word, at We Did That Shit. You sent us an overwhelming response to this episode. We hope to get the same with this next episode. So if you have anything that you want to say, remember you can always send us a confidential email to wedidthatshit@gmail.com. It's one word, wedidthatshit@gmail.com. You can always follow me on my personal Twitter. It's MyMy13. That's MYMY13.
And I'm at Bibbi Amina, BIBBIAMINA.
Yeah. So make sure that you do that and hit that subscribe button. And we will be here same time next week.
Have a great holiday, podcast family. Remember, be great this week. Do that shit. I love you, Maya.
Love you too.